Thank you for coming today. So I have a presentation on communicating in diverse society. My name is Kim Mauldin. Okay, here's a quote from Jackson that says, "Misconceptions, ambiguities, myths, and simple misunderstandings often complicate the process of implementing diversity initiatives." What is diversity? It's race, ethnicity, generational differences, culture, and political. Race and ethnicity, a biological form and or nationality. Okay, we're going to talk about the generational differences, or also called gaps. The first one is the baby boomers, which I am a part of. It's the age range that were born from 1945 to 1964. And then we have the Gen X group.
Oh, that's me.
From 1965 to 1980. And then the Gen Y from 1980 to 2000. And Smith says the difference in values, attitude, and behavior between the generations is called a generation gap. And I just want to go over a little bit about the baby boomers. The baby boomers are known to be very independent. They witness the social reform. They appreciate challenges, and they were brought up like with an authoritarian leadership. As we know, times have changed in the business world. So under the Gen X group, they're more technical. They're more skeptical. And they like to balance their work and life. If you notice, the majority of the business today have like wellness facilities. This is something that they require. The next group is the Gen Y group. They're the most ethical, diverse group. They have an international worldview, and 50% of them have a passport. Alright, so now we want to talk about culture. Culture is a group of people bound together by learned behavior, art, language, and these are some examples of the different languages, and then, of course, religion. Okay, so we want to manage communications. We can manage communications for a diverse workforce. Calls for knowledge of differences and flexibility in conveying and receiving information. Political. Here's a few examples of what diversity would be in the political era. Then we have a democracy, communism, socialism, monarchy, and tyranny.
How come republic's not if we're just democracy?
Republican and Democrats are part of the democracy.
Oh, okay.
And now we want to talk about the communications. And we talk about two different types of communications. There's verbal and there's nonverbal. On the verbal part is where you use actual words. Language gaps pose as a huge problem. There's like acronyms, jargons, slang, and similes. An example of an acronym, today we use a lot of three-letter acronyms.
OMG.
And so like we use VSIP, right? And we talk about the North 40. We know where the North 40 is, but a person in another group would not know where the North 40 is. Or the acronyms that we use for our buildings, the POB, the PB, the RB. Some examples of a simile would be, like it's a figure of speech, like if you want to compare or like, and like we say, someone's running around like a chicken with his head cut off. Or slower than molasses in January. So those are examples of similes. And jargon is more specific to the trade. Like we use, well, in our business, we use like 1930 day. We're going to be off on our 1930 day. Electricians might use the term a pigtail, which would be a jumper wire. Or a dog leg, so it's a bad offset of a bend. So those are just a few examples of words that another group might not understand. So we want to try to stay away from that. So nonverbal communications would be the use of hands, eyes, postures, facial expressions, and colors. An example of colors around the world, say you're going to attend a funeral, all right? In the Western cultures, we typically wear black to a funeral, right? In Korea, they wear red. In China, they wear white. In Iran, they wear blue. And in Egypt, they wear yellow. An example of some color differences is there was a team at work, and it was a diverse group, and the instructor wrote the names of the people in the group, and he used different colors of pens. Well, there was a gentleman from Korea, and he wrote his name in red. And that gentleman, he shut down. He did not participate in the group discussion. And the instructor just didn't quite understand. Well, in Korea, when someone passes away, they write their name in red. So he felt like they were saying, you know, we're wishing death upon you. So those are some examples of cultures' use of colors. And then on the eye usage in America, we find that if we're communicating and we have eye contact, that's being respectful, showing you have attention. Well, the Japanese think that's rude, so when they're in front of you, they look down and they look around. They try to avoid eye contact. So those are just a couple of examples. Okay. So some ways that we can overcome diversity, and Stevens says, we can put strategies in place. And by doing that, we can use direct, short sentences. We can speak at a slow pace. We can provide clear instructions for a job task. And we can use the name of our coworkers instead of pronouns of saying her or she. If you tell them their name, then they know exactly who you're talking about.
Who was Stevens?
An author of one of the people I researched. Business solutions. What we can do as a company, we can provide company culture network groups. We can provide company mentors. We can have open communications. And when providing company communications, we want to avoid the slang, the jargons, and the similes like we talked about earlier. We can provide policies and promote ethical behavior. And we can educate the employees about the cultures and how they communicate. And then these are my references. Do we have any questions?
Is it recess time?
Yes.
Very good.
Well, thank you for coming.
Thank you.